It's Monday the 11th, I'm FX Pro and this is CurrencyTransfer.com's market update. So the main headlines today are that Trump disrupts the G7 meeting, the EU is largely unimpressed with the UK border proposal, and the euro remains firm ahead of the ECB meeting. So this weekend's G7 summit descended into farce. President Trump left early and then tweeted that he didn't want to be a joint signatory on the communique. He called the Canadian Prime Minister dishonest and weak on matters of trade, and Trump believes that for years the rest of the G7 have allowed their currencies to weaken, expecting the dollar to pick up the slack. According to Trump, these days are over. Having made the G7 all about him, he then flew to Singapore ahead of his meeting with Kim Jong-un tomorrow. Goodness knows what is going to come from that. Domestically though, the US rate hike is fully priced in for the FOMC meeting this week, but the market is now more interested in clues for the outlook for the rest of the year. Meanwhile, sterling is in for a tough couple of weeks ahead. Last week it was announced that the full set of Brexit proposals will now not be released ahead of the EU summit at the end of June. Given how the Irish border proposal was received, the rest of the proposals probably face a fairly bumpy ride. Now this casts doubt over whether the negotiations will actually be completed by the October deadline. On the calendar this week we have UK employment data and UK inflation data due, both expected to be largely unchanged, but Wednesday's producer prices could well be a little bit higher given the weaker pound. The House of Commons is also due to vote on the amended EU bill that got savaged in the upper house. With expectations mounting that the ECB plans to join the FOMC and begin a rate tightening cycle, the UK remains unable to raise their rates despite inflation bottoming out slightly over the government target. So sterling's unlikely to see any support from monetary policy there. On the continent, with less political risk in Italy and Spain now, the ECB is becoming wary of inflation and that it may become an issue. Historically, the ECB has been very tight-lipped over any guidance of timing of their policy normalisation. However, last week this changed, with both Dutch and German central bankers saying that the QE tapering is going to be discussed in this week's meeting. So the press conference is very much likely to be the main focus, looking for clues and clarity over any policy change. We'll keep you posted. In the meantime, any questions, do pop them in the comments below and we'll do our best to respond.